All right, so today is section 3.5. We're going to be looking at arithmetic sequences, and today is all about patterns. Okay, it's all about patterns. And what we realize is that with arithmetic sequences, they're linear patterns. So we can treat them the same as linear tables. Okay, we can treat them the same as linear tables. So we do have a little bit of vocabulary we've got to go over today, and it really comes back to working on the table. So I want to start with just a quick review of how do we get slope from the table, how do we find our y-intercept from a table, because that's going to lead us into being able to solve these easily. So go ahead and work on the table here, and I'll catch up with you in just a second. All right, let's see how you did, and let's see if we can come up with our equation. So hopefully you realize that the distance from 3 to 9 is 6. So if I was to only want to go halfway, that would be 3. So 3 plus 3 is 6. 6 plus 3 is 9. 9 plus 3 is 12. And then this other side, negative 12 to negative 2, I'm adding 10. So that's a big jump to skip that. So then half of that would be plus 5. So that would bring me to negative 7. And negative 2 plus 5 would bring me to a positive 3. So if I think about what my slope is going to be, the change in x is plus 3. The change in y is plus 5. So the slope is 5 over 3. So that's pretty simple. And I know that this is linear because it's the same pattern. It's constant. Okay? And if it's linear, then that means the equation is linear. Now, how do I find my b? How am I going to find my y-intercept? Well, I need you to remember that a y-intercept is 0 and then the b. So we have to have x equals 0. So that means we're going to have to go backwards. So 0 would be here. So instead of adding 3, I'm subtracting 3. So instead of adding 5, I am subtracting 5. So that would give me a negative 17. So b is actually negative 17 here. So y would equal 5/3 x minus 17. So this is the hardest part of what we're going to do today. Okay, you have to find your slope and you have to work backwards to find your zero term, which is your y-intercept. So when we look at arithmetic sequences, the first thing we need to know is what is a sequence. So a sequence is a set of numbers in a specific order. Okay, so like 1, 3, 5, 7. This is the first term. This one is the second. Then I have the third. Then I have the fourth. And if you're sitting in a classroom and you're sitting in a row, you're sitting in a specific order. That's a sequence, okay? Terms are the number of terms in a sequence. So, for example, this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, this one has 4 terms, okay? Has 4 terms. Now, an arithmetic sequence is a linear pattern. Okay, it is a linear pattern, which means it is going to increase or decrease, at a constant rate. So if I look at this, this is plus 2 the entire way. Okay, and that number is really important because that pattern, okay, the pattern of the y, that is the common difference. So some key vocabulary we're going to have today: common difference, which is our pattern of the y. That is an important term for us today. And then we're also going to have a zero term, which is our y-intercept. Okay, so if you are ready, let's keep going. Let's just take a look at what's going on here. So an arithmetic sequence has to be the same numbers. So if I'm looking at 1, 2, 4, 8, the first one goes up 1, the second one goes up 2, the third one goes up 4. This one is not arithmetic, okay? If I'm not arithmetic, I am also not linear. Okay, arithmetic and linear are the same things. So if I take a look at this one, 1/2, 1/4, 0, negative 1/4, it is decreasing by 1/4 the entire way. So this one is arithmetic. And if it is arithmetic, it is also linear. Those two are the same thing. All right, so let's see if you can come up with our pattern, okay? And give me the next 4 terms. So 9.5, 11, 12.5, and 14. Take a minute and see if you can come up with your next 4 terms. All right, so hopefully you figured out that this pattern is adding 1.5. So my next term, if I start at 14 and I add my 1.5, would give me 15.5. And then if I do it again, I'm at 17, and then 18.5, and then 20, and so on and so forth, okay? This is an arithmetic sequence. So anytime I see a sequence, I should be able to come up with the next terms. But arithmetic is going to be the same numbers. Now, that doesn't mean that if I give you something like this, 2, 4, 8, where I'm going up +2, +4, and now I'm at 16, and I want to know the next 3 numbers, that you can't do it. Okay, I know this is going to be +8, so that's 22, and this is going to be +10, so that's 32. So I can come up with that pattern and fill in that sequence. This is just not arithmetic. Okay, it's just not arithmetic. So just because the pattern is not the same doesn't mean you can't complete the pattern. It just means it's not arithmetic, which means it's not linear. All right, so let's take a look at one of these problems in context. So it says that the arithmetic sequence 12, 23, 34, 45 represents the total number of ounces that a box weighs after each additional book is added. So they're shipping math books, let's say, okay? So the first thing that we're going to do is write the equation. And to be able to write the equation, we have to make a table, okay? We have to make a table. So to make a table, we're going to start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or however many that you have. And we're going to place these numbers in the right spots. So the 12 is my first number. So the first number always goes in the 1 spot. Then I have a 23. Then I have a 34, and I have a 45. And it wants me to get the 5th term, so I probably better figure out my pattern. So from 12 to 23, I'm adding 11 plus 11 plus 11. So if I add 11 to 45, that takes me to 56, okay? So that is the first thing that I'm going to do. And if I continue to look at what my steps are, the first step says develop the table. Then it says find the slope. So let's think about slope. Slope is the change of y over the change in x, okay, which is my pattern. Those are my patterns. And we already have the pattern of the y. We know the pattern of the y is plus 11. So I have positive 11. And then here, this is always going to be plus 1. Okay, it's always going to be plus 1. So my slope is just 11. So every time I add a book to the box, I'm increasing by 11 ounces. Okay, so I've got my first start of my equation. Y equals 11x plus something. Okay, plus something. So now let's go back and find our common difference. Okay, our common difference we already know, that's plus 11. Okay, plus 11. That is this pattern. That's easy. Step 3, 0th term. Okay, that is my y-intercept. I need the b. So here's what has to happen. So here's the first term. I need the 0 term. Okay, so instead of moving to the right, I'm actually moving to the left. So if this was plus 11, the opposite would be minus 11. 12 minus 11 is positive 1. So 0, 1. So my b, which is my 0 term, is positive 1. So my equation is y equals 11x plus 1. So now my question to you is this. What does this mean in context? What is the plus 1? What is the plus 1? What does it mean? What is it? What is it? What is it measuring? Remember, we're talking about books going into a box. And the 11 we said was every time we add a book, the box is going to increase by 11 ounces. So each book weighs an 11 ounces. So what does the 1 mean? If you're thinking that it's the weight of the box, you are absolutely correct. That is the weight of the box, okay? So I've got my equation, y equals 11x plus 1. Now, they like to ask things that sound kind of confusing. They say, find the 10th term in the sequence. Well, I can certainly go 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and fill in that table. I could also go to my graphing calculator and put in y equals 11x plus 1 and go to my table and figure out that number. But the reality is, all they're really saying is let x equal 10, find y. So I can just substitute. I can take the 10, drop it in from my x. That's 110 plus 1, which is going to give me 111. So the 10th term would be 111. So not too bad. All right, let's try one more. And this one kind of looks more like what you're going to see on assessments and that kind of thing. And it also gives you a blank table. So we have to figure out how to fit the numbers in this table. Okay. All right. So remember, the first thing we do is table. And then we're going to find slope. So we're going to fill in our table. And we said we always start with 1, 2, 3, 4. If I put it in my numbers, here's my first term, my second term, my third term, my fourth term. And let's find our patterns. So we have a plus 1 here. We have a plus 4 here. So the slope would be a positive 4 over a positive 1. And the common difference is the 4. Okay? It is your pattern of your y, so the change of y. Now we need to find the 0th term, okay? Which means we're working backwards. So take a second and see if you can come up with that 0 term. All right, let's see if you managed to get it. So if I'm moving to the right is plus 4, moving to the left would be minus 4. That would give me a 16. So the 0th term is 16. The equation from that point is pretty simple. Y equals, my slope was 4, so 4x plus 16. That is my equation. And it wants the 35th term. So that's telling me x equals 35. So let's substitute. 4 times 35 plus 16. So 4 times 35 plus 16 is going to run me to 2240, and I'm done. So this is not a super challenging concept as long as you kind of remember your vocabulary. Remember, the common difference is the pattern of your y. The 0 term, you have to move backwards to find. And this number here that you find is going to be your y-intercept. Your equation is pulled from your common difference and your y-intercept, and then we are just going to substitute. All right, this is going to wrap this chapter. So next up is a concept check again, and then your chapter test. So let's make sure that you are good to go. Make sure that you're reviewing as you need to. And I'll catch you the next time.